In this episode, we're going to look at how to catch lobsters, or more to the point, how we catch lobsters. If you're new here, I'm Dominic, this is the ship's captain Carly, and this is the star of the vlog, this is Hank. We live on a 40-year-old British sailing boat called Cadoa, which takes us on the most amazing adventures, as we attempt to live a life less ordinary. In last week's video, we were enjoying life, living afloat in the beautiful anchorage of Mevagissey, enjoying the water, dining on lobster, before setting sail eastwards in anticipation of an incoming storm. Shattered from a busy week of hunter-gathering, Captain Carly took charge of getting Cadoa and her crew safely to our next destination.
Mighty roar of the engine is back on. We've sailed most of the way. We've had quite a good day actually. The sails went straight up. We've been on one point of sail and just flew along, and then the wind just died off about 20 minutes ago. So just to make sure we get there on time with a little bit of daylight, Carly has opted to switch the engine on, and we're going to motor sail the last sort of 45 minutes or so. And then we're going to need to find some additional ingredients to go with the foraged food. We're going to need to find ourselves some bread and some wine, I think, to do mussels properly. Would you say that's about right?
Absolutely. Well, I've mussels with that white wine.
Hank has been doing a stellar job of lookout today, haven't you, mate? You have been good. You spotted the dolphins, you spotted lobster pots. Yeah, he actually has. Raise the flag. Long live the king! You're gonna come help me, eh? You're gonna come give me a hand? Right, the sail has dropped. We're gonna sort the anchor out. They don't fully pack the sail away until we're all anchored up, and the reason being is in case something goes wrong, we have an engine issue all of a sudden, we can just hoist that sail straight back up in an instant. One of the schoolboy errors we made in our very first season was packing our sails away before we were done, and our engine gave up on us just as we didn't need it. You live and learn. Oh, mostly. Start slowly backing it up a little bit. So the anchor is now hit the floor, and there's a little bit of chain, and now we're just going to hopefully go back nice and slowly and lay that chain out in a straight line. Looks like we've got a bite. Alright, let's try hard in reverse and make sure she doesn't drag. This chain will stretch right out and it won't drag the anchor across the seabed. Should be sandy. There we are. Looking good. That is a positive bite. We're good. Anchor's down. You can shut off the engine. I'm going to sort the bridle out, and I'm going to get Hank to shore. You want to get to shore, don't you, mate? Shore leave? You've earned it. You've earned it, mate.
The new anchorage we found ourselves in was a quaint little spot called Corsans. And whilst Carly stayed aboard to get dinner ready for us all, I took Hank ashore to stretch his legs and have a little bit of an explore.
Late part. Such a picture perfect little quaint street. Awesome. Carly's gonna love it here. Look at that street light. Tell me that isn't something out of a Sherlock Holmes movie. Wow. Stunning.
Our stop in Corsans was only a short one, sadly, as we were due the next day to meet up with one of my very best friends, but that still left us with enough time to quickly jump overboard for a hunt. As soon as I got in the water, I head down to search under the rocks for crabs and lobsters. I carry the spear gun with me just in case I see one of those standout fish. And it also gives me some sense of security, probably a false sense of security, in the off chance that a shark decides to come and check me out. After a couple of hours in the water, I spotted a cluster of rocks piled on top of each other, covered in seaweed, which looked like an ideal hangout for some crustaceans. But sure enough, it was. And decided to grab this guy from behind. However, I hesitated, at which point the lobster had turned around, although somehow I missed it, and when I put my hand back into the hole, there was a swift lobster claw waiting for me as I got there. Given that the lobster was now close to the exit, I decided to use my spear to try and get him out, although I was rapidly running out of oxygen as he retreated back into his hole, looking as if he was about to come out the other side, but he didn't. After going back to the surface to catch my breath, I swam back down only to be met with an empty lobster hole. This little lobster had managed to escape. And so, we continued further east to meet one of my absolute best friends in the world, Big Al, affectionately known as Monster Munch.
So just for anyone, there's two things. Firstly, this is Al's first time freediving, so I feel like his life's in my hands a little bit. And secondly, he did order the kit, but his weights didn't turn up, so Al, you know, just being the kind of guy he is, solved the problem, improvised.
This is too funny.
We'll go get some lobsters. Today looks perfect. Alex and I are going to head back out, and yeah, hopefully we're going to catch a lobster each. That's the plan, that's the mission. And then it's lobster rolls for dinner. To venture out there quite slowly. The visibility looks amazing. Right. We've had a lot of northerly winds, so hopefully that's been clearing up the water, but look at that. Absolutely crystal clear. It's the end of September. We've got this beautiful sunshine, we've got crystal clear water, great visibility. I'm excited. We're going to go find some. We're going to drop the anchor, jump in the water, find some fish. Look at it. It's amazing. You got to get your head. There you go. Nice and warm?
After only a few dives in the crystal clear water, I came across a shoal of mullet on the edge of the reef. I eyed up the largest one of the bunch and decided to harvest him for the table. Meanwhile, Big Al and his housebricks are on the prowl for lobsters, and so I join in the hunt. It didn't take long to find our first little sea bug. However, this one was too small to keep, but I wanted Monster Munch to have a good look at his first wild lobster before letting him go and heading off to find some more.
I reckon so. It's only little.
This edible crab was tucked up in a tight little hole, but looked too small to take, so we left him be. The lobster holes were plentiful along the reef, so it didn't take too long to make eyes on another good-sized lobster. Not wanting to damage the lobster, I used the end of my spear to tickle this female out of her hole. My GoPro must have been pushed up during the extraction, and so it's hard to see what I'm pointing at here, but this little lady was laden with eggs, vital for future lobster populations. So she too had to go back. Another underwater wall along the reef, another edible brown crab hiding away. This one was a much better size than the one from earlier, so I hooked it out with the end of the spear. Although after getting it out of the hole, I could feel the shell was a little bit soft and looked quite translucent from the underside. On top of that, this crab was also a female, as you can tell from the large rounded pad. And so given that I didn't expect a great deal of meat from this one, I again let her go too. Just next door were another 2 edible crabs doing their part for future crab generations, so I left them be too. Considering it was Big Al's first ever attempt at freediving or lobster hunting, he was getting the hang of it, and he managed to track down a couple of lobsters of his own. Although despite his best attempts, they were just too deep in their holes for either one of us to get them out. Next up was this guy tucked up in a tight little spot, which had a backdoor exit. So I created as much fuss and disturbance as I could to try and flush him out the back, which worked a treat. Finding and catching a crustacean really isn't all that hard. However, finding a keeper is fairly involved. There's a lot that have to go back, but it's important if you want to harvest your food sustainably. Meanwhile, back aboard Canoa, there were some freshly cooked mussels waiting for us, which I'd collected only a couple of days earlier. Captain Carly once again showing off her culinary skills to really do justice to this beautiful wild caught.
Carly has once again cooked up a storm. Those mussels we collected from Mevagissey, beautiful. Bit of sourdough. And what's gone into this sauce? I can smell some white wine.
Cream, garlic, shallots, thyme, parsley, bay leaves. That's it.
How's it?
Very good.
It's all amazing. We purged them for days.
That's nice.
That.
Well there.
Yeah.
No, you're not coming up there.
Mother Nature provides. Again, it's absolutely delicious. So, hope you enjoy coming out on the hunt with us. Gonna enjoy this food. Starving. Eating the way Mother Nature intended. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to check out one of these 2 videos for more Canoa adventures.